best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto. I'm your host, DZ. Smash those like buttons because we have a major show today. We got a lot of news that we got to cover. We got to talk about Trump's secret plan to pump crypto. Also, we have a Bitcoin metric that precedes a pump every single time. So do we have a pump in our near-term horizon? We have a major sell wall for Bitcoin that we got to talk about that. We must clear this hurdle first. Also, we just had the best Ethereum trader of all time just made a major position shift to his portfolio. So we're going to talk about this ETH whale, his latest move, and we have a major XRP partnership to talk about today. I'm joined here with TJ. TJ, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to hear you saying such nice things about me. I don't know if I'm the best all time, but you know, I'm definitely an Ethereum trader.
yeah. He is the best ETH trader of all time.
You're talking about
Let's
Justin Sun, right?
Yeah, Justin Sun with a major move. But let's talk about Bitcoin right now. This is the 1 hour chart, and you can see Bitcoin starting to feel a little bit of pain. We got a nice string of red candles. Now, this is Fibonacci, and when you go to the regular candles, you do see a little bit of this, a little bit of that, if we're going to be honest here. But looking at the Fibonacci, we're seeing a string of red. Bitcoin has, capitulated. Let's go ahead and measure this. We are down about, only about $2,200 from our lowest level. But if you go to the shorter term time frames, go to the 5 minute, you see Bitcoin, the bulls are trying to reverse this. I was looking at the 20 minute and I saw a little bit of strength in the RSI. Looks like we're starting to lose it a little bit there, but on the smaller time frames, 10 minutes, we're looking at some very clear bullish signals, very clear bullish RSI on the shorter time frame. Not to say this is a guaranteed pump. We do want to see it roll over to the 1 hour, the 2 hour, the 4 hour before we have a little more conviction here. But Bitcoin's showing some signs of life here, TJ.
Good. That's exciting. Give me that hopium. I did see some people in the comments saying this is the best channel for the hopium out there. So we try, and I need it. Just so everybody knows, I am fully allocated now. I did get a chunk in on that initial dip to 100K. Got the rest in yesterday of that those coins I was talking about buying. A lot of Bitcoin, Chainlink, Solana, AVAX, and Aave. Ones I talk about a lot. Those are already kind of my heaviest holdings. So topped up all those on this dip. So give me that bullish hopium because
we
starting to feel like, well, I'm fully allocated now. Like, okay, free to make another leg down. So
how about some rage bait hopium? Because we do have, sometimes you have hated rallies in crypto, and we're looking at a hated rally right here, talking about insane clown posse, because that's what they're calling the people who diamond-handed ICP. These people are clowns, but they are the ones having the last laugh. They are the ones squirting you with their little water gun flower. You went in, you took a sniff, and you got sprayed in the face. ICP, they're just feeling drained right now. I shouldn't have said that, but ICP is up 35% today. Dash is up 12% today, and Zcash still continuing to run. But I will reveal I made a change to my Zcash portfolio this morning. Did I buy more? Did I top blast for the third time in a row, or did I finally take profits? I'm going to reveal that a little bit later. I'm interested to see, what do you guys think that I did? Let us know, chat. Let us know. But let's look at the rest of the markets here. We're going to just start with Bitcoin and then work our way down. Bitcoin down 1.2, ETH down 0.9%. See BNB down about 2.3%. Dogecoin feeling a little pain. Cardano feeling a little pain here. But, there were some gainers, below Zcash. We have Trump token doing well. We have Near Protocol. We have Aptos all doing pretty well here. And even Litecoin squeezing in a little bit of a pump here. But when you're looking at the losers, we have Pump down 10%, Hype down 6%. And we have Mantle down and Swee down as well. Avalanche down. Now, I do feel bullish on the Solana ecosystem, so it is surprising seeing Pump down so much here. I don't know. You just bought a big clip of Solana.
I did. And actually, on my virtuals, and virtuals is another one that's showing up down on my side too from the Solana ecosystem. So yeah, I ended up getting most of mine in at like 147. So I guess if I come back here, it's not too bad because I got it on that dip the other day. So we're at 157 now. So I'm still up decent from where I bought it. I literally, if you guys don't I haven't really been talking a lot of details. I didn't want to throw anything under the bus, but I had a major wire that was caught up in the banking system and still somewhat is for the next week. Was able to get what I was trying to get in literally. Sometimes, call it divine intervention, call it whatever you want, but somebody's looking out for me because I got my chunk in literally at like 4 p.m. the other day while everything was crashing and just smash bought Bitcoin at 99. It was almost 99 flat. Solana for 147, Avalanche for 15. Didn't get quite as good on Ethereum and Link and some of those other ones that I was mentioning at the top of the show, but got decent entries to where I'm happy with it. I'm going to hold it for the near term anyway, but I did see Crypto Crank in here. And he was, here we go. Here's right here talking about it. We don't want to break 100. We really need 98 to hold. I agree. He was also talking about that 105 level when we had him on here earlier this week, and it's looking difficult to break. There's a huge sell wall there. I think we're going to cover a story a little bit later in the show. Because we need to get back up over that level. Even if you guys remember the moving average I've been watching, this is kind of my whole thesis here on when we go back into a bear market. This 50-week moving average, at 103, we're okay. We're sitting right on it, but you can see here right now we are dipping below it on this weekly candle. So would love to see this candle come back up above this level, because otherwise, if we fall below it, it can be a long time. These are weekly candles here, so this is basically almost a year, April to February. So
all right. Well, you ready to look at, all right, as the ICP crowd is in here and the ICP haters are in the chat. I can see you guys battling. I'm having a good time reading your charts here. But speaking of, I have a months-old chart. Months old for ICP. I just wanted to check in on it. We do like to chart sometimes the biggest movers of the day. Holy crap. This is one of the spookily accurate chart. I don't know if we did this like 9 months ago or if we did this about a year ago. I do remember talking about ICP a while ago and how you need to respect the fib levels. This, like I said, this was a long time ago. We drew this out. And again, we're just going from the swing high down to the swing low. But when you zoom in, let me go ahead and move this to the right because we got to get a little bit more present here. Boom. Here we go. All right, there we go. Let's zoom into the daily. Look how well this played out, TJ. This is, again, this is a fib extension that we drew months ago, and it is playing out to a T. Obviously, there's a lot of traders who are watching this right now. Oh my God, I'm going down the smaller and smaller time frames. This isn't my level. I'm not saying, this is just everybody kind of pulling out the same fib extensions. But you can see the level getting very, very close. So the people are saying, I'm going to short. I'm shorting here. There was a better entry there. I would be a little bit careful. I think we are going to play around with this line, which is the 236 on the fib levels. So there you go. There's a little ICP chart action for you.
More proof that everything is a simulation, I guess, right?
You know what?
It's so weird, right?
Yeah, we wax poetic about what does this mean? Fibonacci is like, all right, so Leonardo da Vinci talking about flower petals 800 years ago having a lot of relevance to magic internet money in 2025.
Absolutely. I always picture the snail shell or whatever it is, fib extensions are wild, man. Math is all around us in the universe every day, and it seems like it can't be broken. So
all right, now we got to pivot to Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, he came out, he's very bullish on crypto, and he had let me got the wrong screen there. Very bullish on crypto, and he was speaking yesterday. Now he is going to be speaking later on today. We are going to talk about this, but we need to talk about what he was saying yesterday. This is a shorter clip, and we're going to go ahead and play this from Donald Trump.
To embrace a vital industry here in Miami, I've also signed historic executive orders to end the federal government's war on crypto. Crypto is under siege. It's not under siege anymore.
That's right.
Because it's a big industry.
There were no survivors.
It's a big industry, and I have a lot of people that are great people, great business people. They're in other businesses, but they're in crypto too. And it takes a lot of the pressure off the dollar. It does a lot of good things, but we're into it. Biden was vicious on crypto. They were going after these.
Let me just kind of pause there. When he says it takes pressure off the dollar, what he means is there are people net selling US dollars, and then crypto steps up as a net buyer of US dollars. So we have foreign countries, foreign nations, their central banks are dumping US debt. They're betting against the strength of the US dollar, and crypto is helping prop up the US dollar. Now, are we propping up a house of cards, or are we propping up, maybe the next monetary system for the next century and beyond? That question still remains unanswered.
Could be both. And then we get Wispy in here saying now it's under siege by Binance. We got to watch the rest of this clip, but let us know, chat. Do you think crypto is under siege by Binance? Do you think it switched from being the Biden administration attacking it to now?
Wait till I talk about the sell wall, and then we'll discuss
terrible.
Binance's role
They
here.
were under indictment, but I got indicted too. It was terrible. They were under indictment, but I got indicted too. I got indicted. I made a phone call. Congratulations on your victory. He made a phone call. Let's indict him. These people are the worst. And they say,
there he is. If I'm not mistaken, referring to the Georgia phone call to the Secretary of State. I can't really even talk about it. YouTube will not be happy. So if you could smash that like button, help us out. I mean, even playing this is probably pissing off Sergey over at Google.
he's gone after Comey. They indicted me. They impeached me. They did everything. It's unbelievable. Who the hell else could have taken that? Do you guys know anybody else that could have taken it? I don't think so.
So there he goes. He kind of goes off rambling about his indictments. Talk, of course, the 34 charges from New York. That's a whole nother conversation here. But we do have some breakdowns of this analysis here that I do want to cover, especially given a secret meeting. There are secret meetings happening as we speak. We're going to segue into that. David Sachs, our AI and crypto czar, speaking about bipartisan unification. And can this give us a little bit of relief during this government shutdown? Let's talk about this Trump statements here. He did this in Miami. Shout out to the mayor Suarez over there. Suarez. Trump says he wants U.S. to be the Bitcoin superpower and cites competition from China. Just looking at some of the things, I've also signed historic executive orders to end the federal government's war on crypto. We saw that clip. Crypto's under siege, not under siege anymore. Biden, like we saw that he was vicious on crypto. They're going after the crypto guys. It was terrible. Let me go ahead and say most of America does not have much sympathy for quote unquote crypto guys. They see a crypto bro, and they think, scammer, even though you might just want to protect your wealth because the real scam is the US dollar. Of course, Then he digresses about his own legal battles. But here we go. China, they want to do it. Speaking about crypto, they're starting it. But what they want to do, other countries want to do it. We don't do it properly. It's a big industry. We must do it properly there, according to Trump. But let's talk about this secret meeting as well, TJ. Chairman John Boozman. He's going to be a senator here. He's a senator from Arkansas. And then we have Cory Booker, a much more popular senator from New Jersey, probably most recently on the national stage with his filibuster. There's some screaming. TJ, did you happen to catch any of that?
No, I try to avoid politics as much as I can.
Cory Booker, he does receive a lot of foreign funding, and there's not a war for that he doesn't support. And so if there's a war for the dollar hegemony, if there's a war for the U.S.'s strength abroad, Cory Booker is a staunch supporter of that. And so we kind of have this bipartisan. I mean, John Boozman, if you look at what committees he's on the Veteran Affairs, he's on the Rules Committee, he's on a lot of important committees when it comes to purse strings, and Cory Booker as well. So here is from David Sachs. Again, this is the crypto czar for the Trump administration. He said these two senators, he's thanking them for a constructive discussion today about the crypto market structure legislation. I'm encouraged by the great progress so far and look forward to a bipartisan draft in the future. So we have them coming together. That's a good picture of David Sachs. He needs to put that one up on his wall.
That's David Sachs with some aura right there.
That is aura is glowing. It is diffusing the photo there. I mean, he just won his little all-in poker tournament against Chamath. Discussions over the digital asset market structure bill currently being considered in the U.S. are reportedly they're still happening. And wait till I show you the ramifications of this government shutdown. It's comical and it's scary. But, these are still happening amid the longest shutdown in the country's history. So like we said, is Senator John Boozman of the Senate Ag Committee. This is one of the most powerful committees out there. This is going to be up there with the Senate Defense Arm Committee. It's one of the committees that will need to approve the bill before consideration in the full chamber. They'll discuss this legislation with David Sachs and Cory Booker. But the shutdown is adding a very interesting wrinkle here. So this bill is expected to be one of the most significant pieces of legislation to emerge from the current session, initially already passed by the House all the way back in July. God, it seems like so long ago. But many expected the bill to pass with bipartisan support out of the Senate. However, discussions were complicated by the Democrats' insistence on provisions for DeFi. This was largely led by Elizabeth Warren. We talked about her kind of planting the flag.
Ooh.
This is for the crypto criminals. This is, they want to, remember, she brought up the T word a lot. She brought up Binance a lot. I don't even want to say the word again. We're kind of encroaching on scary territory for YouTube, but she was very, very vehemently against it.
Yeah, a hot bag of nothing. Yeah. I don't know.
All right, TJ called her a hot bag. All right, now, so she pushed against the DeFi protocols and also complicated by the government shutdown. But what's the interesting wrinkle that I'm talking about? Well, after a lot of high-profile Democrat victories 2 days ago, there are senators on the left, progressive liberals, they're, including Chris Murphy, they're suggesting we have more leverage, so hold the line and push on these lawmakers to support extending healthcare subsidies. And when they say support extending these subsidies, they mean keep the government shut down longer. So the shutdown, had Democrats not done as well Tuesday, had a better chance of ending soon. But now that they have a little bit of juice, they have that aura, if you will, they have a little bit more sway in saying, no, we can continue on the shutdown because now we have more power at the negotiating table. So this is adding another complication to, are we going to get this structure bill passed finally? Are we finally going to get some clarity here? Now, to the interesting wrinkle here. So, we have first say we got to get it done by January, February. We have to, this is according to Tom Tillis, we have to pass this crypto legislation by then, because then the midterms complicate the process. If you don't know much about the House of Representatives, they got to run every 2 years. There's an old adage in Washington, D.C. that you work for a year, you campaign for a year. And essentially saying after February, it's full-blown campaign season, and the House of Representatives actually isn't going to get anything done. But this is where it gets interesting. So we have Donald Trump's Council of Advisors for Digital Assets. This guy's the executive director. His name's Patrick Witt. He says the shutdown has presented some complications, some wrinkles with discussions over the market structure. He added that having lawmakers more available due to the lack of meetings during the shutdown. So now that there's a shutdown, they have empty schedules. Oh, I'll meet with you for lunch. I'm not doing anything else. So during the shutdown, it's allowed for additional engagement. But the interesting wrinkle, the furloughed staff, because now they can't pay their staffers. Some are going to stay on, but a lot of them aren't. The furloughed staff from the agencies present a lack of technical expertise to weigh in on the bill. So you could get the meeting with the big lawmaker, with the big legislator, with that senator, but he doesn't have his army of autists, the people with Asperger's, the people that actually understand crypto. He doesn't have his brain trust. And so now we're not even getting we're not getting anything from the meeting. It's basically, that sounds interesting, but I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what's that noise over there, TJ?
Yeah, sorry, they're doing construction in the studio next door. I have no idea what they're doing, but yeah, they're fixing it. So.
I thought there was 18-wheeler inside the building, like a Stephen King novel.
No, they heard me making jokes about Elizabeth Warren, so they're coming for me. That was actually the ghost of her voice in the background.
I thought it was angelic trumpets heralding the apocalypse.
No, definitely not. No, I was wondering if you guys could hear that or not, but yeah, it's pretty loud in here. I've got the headphones on.
Yeah, really you might need to mute while
myself.
Not speaking there. But yeah, a lot of people, the chat is very upset. We need to get this government open. We need to pass that bill. A lot of people talking about that sound as well. Stop paying them until they fixed everything and watch how fast they get it done. That is a very, very interesting point. And TJ, you pointed this out here. That's actually on the docket. John Kennedy, very funny guy. If you ever hear a politician, the older white guy talk, is your sheriff a crackhead? That's John Kennedy. He's the crackhead guy, the guy with all the funny crackhead quotes. He's introducing two bills.
He's the crackhead guy?
He's the crackhead guy. He's introducing two bills to stop Congress from getting a paycheck during the shutdown. Chat, should Congress continue to get a paycheck to incentivize them to keep working, or should we freeze their paychecks? Let us know in the comments. I'm curious. TJ, what's your take here?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, I mean, if you're not working, you don't get paid, that kind of makes sense. So, but I think it's a much bigger, more systemic problem than just that. I think there's a famous Warren Buffett clip that circulates every once in a while when he's talking about the deficit. And he says, I could solve the deficit, immediately. Just make it to where anytime the deficit runs below this percent, I don't know if he says 4% or 3%, 6%, something like that. Anytime the deficit's above 3%, all sitting members of Congress aren't eligible for re-election. They'd get it fixed almost immediately. And it's very true. It's if you get incentives aligned, you're much more likely to get the results that you desire. So, yeah, I think realistically, should they stop getting paid? Yes. Should we rethink the way the entire system works? Possibly. I know a lot of people that might upset a lot of people, but I don't think it's designed for modern day governance that it's much more nuance. Things move faster. I don't think the way we're set up now, I mean, even the fact that, again, we've got votes on all sorts of stuff. This started to pass. Really what we're seeing is lobbying. What's holding this up when you talk about Elizabeth Warren, that's bank money. That's basically the banks threw a lot of money in slowing this bill down and making sure it doesn't immediately threaten their business, and that they've got what they're fighting, what Elizabeth Warren is fighting for right now, which is so insane that she pretends to represent the people. She's literally fighting for the banks, and she's always like, oh, we got to control the banks. And she's literally fighting to put legislation in there that protects the banks and keeps it from being too free for the people. They want to have control over DeFi. They want to regulate it. People that understand DeFi are saying you can't over-regulate this thing. You can't strip what's good and all the efficiencies out of this just to protect banking profits, but that's exactly what's happening. If they're being honest, it's the JP Morgans of the world. It's the big banks out there that are paying big money to make sure that they don't lose a competitive advantage. That's what they're fighting over, is what protocols are allowed to offer as yield, what stablecoin issues are allowed to offer as yield. And they're like, wait a minute, if all of a sudden people can get yield on their stable coins, why would they use checking accounts? And the answer is they wouldn't. You would use a stable coin and earn 5% instead of 0.005%. And then banks are like, wait a minute, that's going to threaten our business. And it's like, yes, it absolutely will. And so that's why the brakes are being put on it right now. I do think a lot of people have been out there, Sergey Nazarov from Chainlink, Brian Armstrong from Coinbase, many others. Cynthia Lummis is doing a lot of really good work. So there's a lot of people out there. Kraken team has been out there doing a lot of really good stuff. Aave has doing a lot of education. So there's been a lot of extremely positive things coming out of this. But it is very frustrating to see the Elizabeth Warrens of the world saying, like, she's not saying this, but her actions are saying, we must protect the banks. We must protect bank profits. That's exactly what's happening.
It's exactly what's happening. Now, this is only a 20-second ad. This is John Kennedy's ad. This is definitely worth the 20 seconds.
Some people in Washington, D.C. say we ought to defund the police.
I like them
already. You know what I say? I say if you hate cops just because they're cops, next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead. See how that works out for you.
That's a real ad. That's a real ad. Not only is this a real ad, he actually posted this on his official gray checkmark X account.
Wow.
So that is John Kennedy in a nutshell, if you haven't seen John Kennedy. So
next time you have a problem, just call a crackhead,
He's the one saying freeze their pay, full-blown Arnold Schwarzenegger. We need to get some freezing going on over here, folks.
I will say, crackheads can be very resourceful. They can solve some problems. Don't count them out.
Crackheads never say, you know what? I'm not going to smoke crack today. They get out there. They get it done, folks.
They get it done. They find a way.
Now, people are talking about things are dumping. You got to check out the charts. Go back to the charts here. Well, it's actually very interesting because remember we drew out that 10-minute. We were looking at that 10-minute bullish RSI or whatever, saying, like wait for it to hit the other timelines. If we extend that, look at that right there. Look at that right there. So we did have a little bit of a correction, but we're still trying to hold on to this range here. And if you go ahead, we were looking at the 10-minute RSI. We got a bounce. We did get a bounce. You can see a bounce right there. So this might be close to a bottom. This might be close to a bottom, folks.
Let's
just
hope
what the TA is telling me here.
I'm not holding my breath, especially somebody did ask if we're going to be covering the Trump talk. We are. He's going to be going live and maybe in a little bit, 11:15. So we will pull it up when he's going live. But if there's anything that could send us crashing through a support level, it's Trump saying something. So Like,
Just don't
let's
say
just be-
China. Just don't say it one time.
Yeah, 2 questions though. One, this guy asked, and this is for Cardano expert DZ here. Will Cardano ever be over $2 again? But chat, let us know what you think as well. Will Cardano ever be over $2 again? We're sitting in at what, 60 cents right now, or 52 cents right now. Obviously, $1.20-ish is the highest it's been this cycle. I think 3 and change highest all time. Can Cardano ever get above $2? Is that question? And then
I was bull posted an hour and a half ago, almost in
look at that.
anticipation of this very question. I was inside of your mind, chatter. This was from Smolting, talking about a $20 billion market cap. Thank you for your attention here. But I said I personally see value, and it's okay if others don't see what I see. But what I do see, oversold weekly RSI on Cardano, largest government system in the world. Besides Litecoin, the longest running blockchain with 0 downtime, 1 million transactions per second with their upcoming Hydra heads, Night privacy token coming, and huge upside with eventual tier 1 stablecoin integration. So that's just my 2 cents. And so to answer your question, yes, I do think it'll go to $2.
Yeah, very split in the chat. Some say no, ADA is trashed by XRP. XRP has outperformed it, even though ADA got a pretty good pump. XRP in the recent, last 12 months or so, or maybe 16. XRP, hard to argue with what it's done in the last year or two. But both of those coins also, had a kind of pumped in tandem in that December 24. They both went, and I don't know. It's tough. I would love to see Cardano above $2 again. Would be very nice. But
and that's Pepe, and Pepe's pump. No, Pepe's not dumping insanely. It's a little bit of a dump, and nothing really worth writing home about.
What about? Do we go back under 100K today? What do you think? Yes or no? End of the day.
Let's go back to Bitcoin. Let's kind of we see some strength starting to form now.
Yeah,
if we go to the 20 minutes, we don't quite see like we're at a we could go down a little bit lower. I personally am starting to see strength in these smaller time frames. If we go to the 12-minute, I mean, it's still slightly there in the 12-minute. We'll do one more of a look at the 15-minute here. I mean, I'm still seeing strength in the 15, so we don't see it on the 20 just yet. But actually, when you zoom in, this candle's ending in 12 seconds, 11 seconds. So let's give ourselves 8 seconds. This is going to answer everything, folks. We're just zooming in on the RSI. 3, 2, 1. What do we got? Oh my gosh, look at that. Yeah, I mean, now we're starting to see strength on the 20-minute. Not quite a bullish divergence just yet. I say no, but no one knows for sure. I'm saying no.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for no, but now that I'm fully deployed with my latest buy, it probably will. That's just my luck. But
yeah, now that you've cashed in.
Yeah, I can't complain too much though. I was talking about, hey, I hope I can get it under 108, and I got it under 100. So I still think, and we've got JP Morgan out there with very bullish stuff. A lot of really bullish things coming out right now, both on ETFs. I think JP Morgan said 170 the next 6 to 12 months, which that works. That works for me. That works.
All right. Link, ETH, Sol. All right. First one, you think ADA hits $5? $5, I'm a little bit less sure of. I think 420 is going to be like a meme sell wall, and I think it might be a little bit hard to pass. I was saying $7 at one point. Now I'm like, oh, now you're not even saying 5. Well, sometimes you got to get new information. You got to reassess. It can't.
We're running out of time too.
Yeah. So I'm leaning slightly no, but I'm not like saying by no means would it ever. I give it 20% odds I can go above, maybe 30%. Link, ETH, Sol, drop 50K all at once, or DCA. Leroy, DCA is the way. And I saw a really good prediction from Caleb Franzen. He was just talking about the larger context for Bitcoin. He says, I would not be surprised. Let me hide this text here. 37 days. He said, I would not be surprised if, because there's so much support at this 98. If we fake everybody out with like 2 days of price action below this range. So like give it like just a couple days to make everybody think there's a bear market, and then it pumps.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go all in at once.
Yeah, the DCA can be a lot of different things. So, Chad, if you had 50K and you were looking at Link, ETH, and Sol, how would you split it? I mean, there's a lot of different ways. That's basically what I just bought, Link, ETH, and Sol. I didn't buy it all at once, but my version of DCA is like splitting up large portions into like 2 days. It's not like I really DCA. It's not like I say every Friday I'm going to buy this much, but that's traditional DCA, and you could do that. I guess what I mean is like you could decide, hey, for the next 5 Fridays, I'm going to buy 10K on each Friday, and then I'm going to split up my volatility a little bit, or kind of take a little bit of the volatility out. I almost never do that. I think about doing that a lot. I talk about doing that a lot. And then generally when I have it at my disposal, I just smash buy on a dip. And that's pretty much what I did. I bought a pretty serious chunk of Solana and a very big amount of Ethereum, Chainlink, Aave, pretty much all of those. I bought a pretty serious amount of, yeah, we should do another. And actually, okay, so speaking of this trading in the Discord, he asked for another 10K to 100K challenge in the, do daily trading in the Discord. We're going to get back to doing that. And I've actually got a really good trader that Blowfin is actually hooking us up with. I don't know, one of their like Chinese quants basically. And I've been back testing and looking at all their data, and they've just been crushing these trades. They sent me some even this morning that a lot of them are short time frame, swing trades, scalp trades. They can be as small as 5 to 15 minute type trades, but I mean, they crushed on a bunch of things just this morning. So I've been looking at those, vetting them. They look very, very good, hoping to get them integrated into Discord potentially this weekend. And so, yes, we'll start maybe as soon as next week doing another 10K to 100K challenge in the Discord where you guys can follow along. Yeah, that's my quant. That's right.
Now, this is going to be an actual...
He came in second in a math competition.
This is an actual Asian trader, not just a guy we're pointing at. That would be kind of messed up. Now, let's talk about Bitcoin price action, everybody. I want to show you this. Bitcoin supply at a loss reaches 30%. What is significant about the loss reaching 30%, meaning people holding 7 out of 10 are in profit, 3 out of 10, they're in the red. Well, this historically precedes major rallies.
I just want to pull Drew. Let us know. I know you're waiting in the wings. Let us know, or hop in if Trump starts talking.
You look like you're in Kramer's apartment from the Kenny Rogers Chicken episode.
Yeah, I got a change of scenery, but I'm watching if Trump goes live. Keeping an eye on this for you guys in the background here. Absolutely.
So that's coming, guys. So don't fret. As soon as he goes live,
let's zoom in on this chart, everybody. So when you see this purple, all right. So the metric on the left, percentage in loss. When we hit right around, this is actually, it says 30. It's maybe closer to 26, 27. Right now, we're at 28.1. When it peaked here, peak go bottom. I mean, of course, it makes sense because that's what the metric is measuring here. You see, we got close to right around 30. That was the peak go bottom. And when we, flirted with the high level here, that was the peak go bottom. And of course, this is going to just be a natural part of this chart here. But right now, we are higher than where we were right here. And, it's a little bit hard to tell, but we're higher than the fake out 27% pump right here. So we're right now in reversal territory. Maybe there's a little bit of a capitulation. It goes back down, and then we get one little higher blast up. But let's say you did it right there. That means you jumped in right here relative to right there. So what are you looking at there? This is 2024 July. So are you going to complain that, oh, I bought at 57K and it dipped to 55K? Are you going to complain that, oh, I bought at 102K and it actually dipped to 97K? I really don't think you are once you zoom out here. So this is a very, very important reversal signal.
Absolutely.
Not something to be ignored for all the bears out there saying 126 was the top.
Yeah, I 100% agree. When you start to see supply and loss, and then there's another one. I don't know if you've got it on the capitulation. Yeah, this one, perfect. This is the one that kind of it's kind of the other side of the coin of the same.
Yeah, the number's lower relative or versus higher.
Yeah, and this is short-term holders capitulating. So these are people. Yeah, go ahead.
Puking. No, I was just gonna say, they went a little hard on the jungle juice, or did too many keg stands.
Yeah, I mean, you can see on this one, if you make it full size, this is basically short-term holders, people that haven't been holding Bitcoin that long, selling out. And so that last graph DZ showed is when, hey, we're at a 30% loss. Many of those people right there that are at those Bitcoin supply and a loss are short-term holders. And these are people that jump in. Maybe they bought the hype after Trump got elected. They bought early 2024. A lot of those people did that. And now they're saying, oh, this crypto thing, it's not for me. It's too volatile. I can't stomach it. I'm just going to sell and get out and forget about it. We're seeing that a lot right now, especially with newer entrants in retail. And this same thing shows when short-term holders, meaning not long-term, not OGs, not people that are just macro bullish Bitcoin like all of us on this channel, people that are like, I don't know, I'll try it out. I heard maybe it's a good investment. They haven't been holding it very long. They can't stomach the volatility. They start dumping. That is almost always, I mean, if you look, This is what the second, third biggest sell-off in short-term holders. That is almost always preceded a very large pump. So again, this is more confirmation confluence for me that even if we do slightly go lower, even if we hit 98 or 92 or some of these lower levels we're watching, this is near a bottom. And
yeah, it's like, okay, we're right here, maybe not right here, you know,
Exactly.
but maybe we are right there. And again, once you zoom out, you're really not going to care about that.
It does. It's 100%. It doesn't matter. It needs, if you're an investor or a trader, you need to be buying near bottoms and selling near tops. You don't have to nail the exact bottom. You don't have to nail the exact top. So for me, again, I put about actually more than 7 figures into crypto in this last, week, in these last few days. So this to me was a buy opportunity. I do believe there's potential for it to go somewhat lower. And if it does, I've still got more cash on the sidelines where I could buy lower, but under 100K Bitcoin was a good entry point for me. And
all right, well, now it's time for me to go after the FBI. FBI, open up, because you're about to get DZ'd, everybody. FBI stealing people's Bitcoin or not. What is actually going on here? FBI can't be blamed for wiping a hard drive with $345 million worth of Bitcoin. This is from a U.S. appeals court. They say the FBI isn't at fault for wiping a drive containing this Bitcoin, as the owner never informed the FBI that the tokens were on the hard drive. So this man was convicted of identity theft, and he claims his hard drive with over 3,400 Bitcoin was seized and wiped by the FBI. It was bleached like a Hillary Clinton server, has lost his lawsuit against the government in a U.S. appeals court. Now, the Court of Appeals found on Tuesday that Michael Prime, what a name for a guy that might have all this stolen, or, identity thief, might have all this Bitcoin. So Mike Prime, God, is such a powerful name. Mike Prime can't sue the government over the loss of a key to access this $345 million worth of Bitcoin, as he previously claimed he didn't own that amount of crypto. There's a whole process when you're arraigned. So according to the panel's opinion, Prime claimed to have owned approximately 3,500 Bitcoin before he struck a plea deal to admit to device fraud, identity theft, and illegally having a bang there. But after the plea deal, he changed his tune, and he no longer claimed to hold a significant amount of cryptocurrency. Now, if you look into it, he served about 2 years in prison, and then he was transferred to a halfway house, and then he sued to have the hard drives returned to him. But they said, oh, no, man, it's already been destroyed. And when he tried to explain away the lower figure, not saying he had all this Bitcoin, well, he's like misreporting the market value of a single coin, saying, yeah, I thought it was just a couple $100 when Bitcoin was worth over $10,000. A little bit of a big difference there, looking at a 50x. And the key was on a physical device, and also means losing access to the funds. So because he did not have cold storage, big shout out to Arculus here. He ends up losing all of this money potentially here. Again, he might be lying, but that is one of the biggest L's. It's one of the biggest L's since the guy lost his Bitcoin in the landfill in England.
And this is why, again, we like to use cold storage. Don't leave it on a hard drive. Arculus is one of the easiest, simplest to use. You can use code DC20 if you want to get 20% off. You can just tap it right to the back of your phone. Super, super convenient. I've given a lot of these away, given it to friends, family. This is something I use personally. You can use more than one. So if you guys do have a significant amount, even if it's, I don't care if it's $5,000, $10,000. It's, if you have some that you want to hold for the long term, getting it off of an exchange, holding it in a self-custody thing that's easy to use is critical. If we're getting towards a bear market, we always see exchanges go down during bear market season. So, secure your funds. Arculus, again, one of the easiest ways to do it. And I did want to come back and clarify. I said more. It wasn't more than 7 figures. It was just more than 7 figures flat. It wasn't 8 figures. I wish it was 8 figures, but there you go. So does anyone in DC think the 4-year cycle is still in play? So this comes up a lot. We talk about it a lot on this channel. It is, and I'll say this, it is until it isn't. We do still believe it's in play, which could mean we are at or near the top. It should be heading back down into a bear market. My gut says, and my fundamentals say, that we're going to see something different this time. We know that's a controversial take, but until something different happens, the 4-year cycle is in play, if that makes sense. So if we go down after November, December, Q4 this year, if it goes down into an extended bear cycle, obviously it's still in play. Many of us feel like we could see a bullish Q1 of next year, February, March, when all this money printing starts coming out. And then if that happens, we will say the 4-year cycle is different. It's not in play. And many things about this cycle have not been consistent with the 4-year cycle, specifically with altcoins. Bitcoin, you could argue, is still following the 4-year cycle pretty closely, but altcoins topping a year early is not part of the 4-year cycle for altcoins, for sure. If the top was December 2024, January 2024, that is not consistent with the 4-year cycle at all. And many things about this haven't been. Generally, the 4-year cycle is marked by a close to 50% correction. When you get into the bear market, you usually see a close to 50% correction within about an 8-week period. We haven't seen anything like that yet. And I'm predicting we probably don't into December and January. Now, that being said, there's a lot macro. We're on a liquidity squeeze. I think the Fed, the Treasury, the big, beautiful bill, money printing will all be adding liquidity back into the system December, January, February, March, which could lead to a bullish rally. However, the job numbers are not looking great. The overall macro economy isn't looking great. There's some stuff with AI. I don't know if you've been seeing that. Looks quite... we'll talk about that maybe at the end of the show if there's time.
Yeah, there is some breaking news with XRP. We will cover the XRP news. We'll talk about the escrow. I do want to just talk about the sell wall real quickly. The sell wall, just want to give you the number 105. So it's pretty clear it's been capped with a cluster of asks, aka sells, right around 105. And if you zoom in a little bit, you can see it starts around 105. There is that little deep one here around 104 and some change. But after that, this is all sell wall. So this is going to be a little bit of pressure on Bitcoin's pumpamentals. This is going to slow down the pumps there. Now, there is some indication maybe it's Binance. Again, now we're kind of getting into dubious speculation territory there. But often this tactic is used to drive price lower during Asia hours, talking about the 105 ask, because there's a lot of this is on Binance here. This is the Binance 5-minute chart with the order book data. So they're saying this is just classic Chinese manipulation by Binance market makers. That remains to be seen. If these disappear, that is just that classic manipulation.
Well, yeah, and like you just said, buy walls and sell walls can come up quick and disappear quick. And to your point, Deezy, they could just get rid of it and all of a sudden just go blasting right through it. And that would be, some manipulation. I did see this question. Where's the Discord link? It should be in the link to the description of this video or any of the videos we post. It's a lot of times we just say join our community or our trading community. That is the Discord link. It's free to join and you will get a lot of good sell signals in there and a lot of fun stuff. So
I don't know if you want us to illuminate the markets or is it Illuminati sell walls there? ICP, we talked about ICP. We did a little price action earlier on ICP. So rewind if you didn't see that. ICP with the major pumps. It is your time. It is time to shake up that 2 liter of Fago, spray it in your friend's face, and just have a good time, man. But you have that waterproof clown makeup, so you're going to be fine. Now, there were ETFs, but it's good news for a particular altcoin. Bitcoin, ETH saw continued outflows. Just want to share this. Solana extended the winning streak to 7 days. So Solana, congrats on the bulls there. And if you look at the Bitcoin sell pressure, pretty significant on the 4th. Not so bad on yesterday on Wednesday, only 137 million, only $137 million in sell pressure. But if you look for all the red days that we've had in our little streak, it is the lowest of the sell pressure, suggesting maybe a little bit of reversal. Don't say, look at what altcoin is this? What altcoin is this?
Probably
this
all the ones I hold.
A terrible chart here. And it's DoorDash. Someone was saying, look at Dash earlier. I know you meant the token, but DoorDash collapsed 20% after some weak earnings. And then we have Jackson here. Is about 10,000. He's an ex-engineer. DoorDash is an IQ test. Do you want a cheeseburger for $27 or will you go pick it up for $6? DJ, I just want to share. I never use food delivery systems. I grew up poor. I'm very cheap. And Cardano can go to $10. I'm still not going to use DoorDash.
Yeah. I use way too much Uber Eats. It's one of those, like, and I would not recommend it. It is addicting. Once you get used to it, it's very hard to go back.
Do
Somebody
you
told me
guys
that.
DoorDash? Do you DoorDash? Do you not DoorDash? What are your guys' thoughts on it? Is it a waste? Are you leaving Satoshis on the ground? So
Yes.
you and the wife, y'all love some food delivery, huh?
Yes, unfortunately. And like, and every time I look at it, I'm like, this is not good. It's way too much. I mean, I got used to it when I was single, you know. It just adds up so fast, and once you get used to it, it's so easy. Even like you said, even if you just go pick it up, it's convenient. Now you can grocery store delivery. You can do, if you use their in-app thing, it's actually the same price. But
First world indulgence.
yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. If you're using a delivery service, like, yeah,
Brett is making sats off of you guys. Guys, if you see Brett, give him a huge tip. Brett, I want you to crush it today.
Fun story. I ran into, I had somebody that was an Uber Eats person talk crypto to me, and they were they were a Hexagon, they were in the Hex army. So that's my only crypto experience relating to Uber Eats. And they were he was pitching me. He was out there pitching on the streets, like, oh, have you ever heard of Hex? And I'm like, I've heard of it.
I know the guy. I know the guy. All right, let's speaking of not looking good here, how about this ETH price action? May 21, 3,300. April, September, January 22, July 24, July 25, November 25. It doesn't matter, everybody. You're holding a stable coin. How does it feel to hold a stable coin? I hold Cardano, so I'm jealous. But
yeah, I was gonna say that might have been a better question for chat rather than Cardano. It was like, will ETH ever make a new all-time high ever again in our lifetime? Like, it sometimes feels like it won't. I know we got close recently. But like, will it ever get over 5K? What do you guys think? Like 5K ETH 2025. What do you guys think? Yes or no?
2025 top for ETH already happened. No, did it? Maybe. I don't know. Man, it is tough. It may have already happened. It might just kind of crab and fake us out to have that extended rally there.
Well, I think it will. I don't know if it'll happen by 2025. I hope it happens in December. I do think it happens early next year, whether it's January, February, March, Q1 of next year. That being said, this was something interesting I was looking at yesterday. The Eastern coins, call it, BNB, Tron, PancakeSwap, all new all-time highs, all look like much more organic price movement in what we would expect in a normal alt season, much less manipulated, it feels like. And it almost has me feeling like a lot of the obvious US, you don't call them US backed, US based, but coins that have US founders or US ties, like Solana.
Yeah, remember the Venn diagram, US, cryptos.
So a lot of those in the top 10 seem like they've been just staying in these accumulation ranges. The ones that are obvious, Chainlink seems to be clearly setting the standard for what is going to be the future of traditional finance and DeFi. Ethereum, clearly tied to the stock market. Chainlink built on Ethereum, tokenization, all of these things, stable coins, all issued on Ethereum. Bitcoin, for example, several other ones like that. Solana, Cardano, XRP, a lot of these top 10 projects feel like they've gotten a bid and then they stay in this range and it looks manipulated. You've got ETFs coming for these products. You don't have ETFs in the US for Tron or BNB or PancakeSwap. Excuse me. And so it just has me wondering, is this big money positioning into these projects compared to Tron and BNB? Have those that been allowed to be a little bit more organic? Just a thought, maybe it's worth doing an upload on, kind of doing a compare and contrast. But if you look at it, Tron, all-time high. BNB at or near all-time high. PancakeSwap performing extremely well. That would be like kind of the BNB ecosystem, the Tron ecosystem. Seems to be a much more steady move up than what we've seen with Solanas, with the Ethereums, with the Chainlinks, even though the Chainlinks seem to be at the middle of the infrastructure of what is the future of crypto. So you could argue that's big money, that's old money, that's whales trying to accumulate these things. They're trying to keep this price suppressed until we move into the inevitable price discovery for all of those assets. I mean, Chainlink specifically, it seems like, and I know if you're a Chainlink holder out there, and this is another one I just bought a fat bag of, and it's like, it seems like it's always at $15 or maybe we get to $20, but it's not. it doesn't. I mean, I know it was at 30 not that long ago, but it just feels like it should be a lot. The price should match the sentiment and the infrastructure and the macro much better. My gut says it really is institutional accumulation that we're experiencing, and that's why we see a really big blast off next year. But it was just interesting because I was looking at BNB, I was looking at Tron, like maybe I should be buying some BNB and some Pancake Swap, but they're already at all-time high. So I don't know, just thoughts. I don't chat. What do you think? Are we experiencing manipulation on some of the obvious picks for US coins? Do you think it's just a coincidence? What do you guys think? Just let me know.
That is a tough question. At one point I was thinking, to David Sachs, he had to sell everything. A lot of multi-coin capital things had to sell before he got into the administration. Of course, Trump wasn't going to step into the administration until January. We saw major pumps in November, December preceding that January. And that was a perfect time for people to exit their entire positions. People like a David Sachs, people like some of these other people in the orbit there. It's really hard to tell. At the end of the day, I think Sergey is just dumping a lot, and the sentiment is not there. People aren't risk on, and we need some quantitative easing.
Yeah, I mean somebody said that. I don't know, Crank, if you're talking about when you say those are much stronger projects, which ones? I'm not sure. Like, are you saying Hype is another good example there too? Is also doing extremely well, but is BNB stronger than Solana? Is that what you're saying? Could be. Is BNB stronger than Ethereum potentially? It's just interesting to look at all those. But when you look at the stablecoin issuance and you look at kind of what seems to be getting, like, I don't think they're going to use BNB. They're not going to tokenize the stock market on BNB. They're just not going to do it.
Yeah, Solana will do well. I do want to hit some of these super chats though before they get too old. Do you think ADA is still $2? I already answered that question earlier. Yes. I do think it can go to $2. It's insane to watch Zcash run. You have any idea why it's ripping? I did a Zcash video. I talked about my buys. We jumped in really early. I top blasted. You made fun of me. I top blasted a second time. You made fun of me. I top blasted a third time. Everybody called me an idiot. I am the one that is laughing now. I am going to share my Zcash portfolio change from this morning. I guess I could go ahead and share. I guess I'll go ahead and share. I did sell 20% into stablecoin to potentially buy more. If it keeps running, I really don't want to sell an additional 20% until a big move. But Thread Guy has sold 50% of his Zcash after saying he won't sell any until 1,000. Made me think. I was like, all right, I do need to take some profit. And, I will potentially buy some more there. So there you go. There's a Zcash lore. Now, we do have some. I didn't get into the world's best Ethereum trader. This guy has traded ETH better than anybody. He did a great job in 2018. He did a good job in 2021. And he just made a major move with this ETH bag. So he just staked over $150 million worth of ETH. So he withdrew 45,000 Ether from Aave, and he deposited it into basically a long-term commitment into Lido staking. There's an entry queue, there's an exit queue, and he wouldn't do this unless he was long-term bullish on ETH. So he currently holds $500 million in his public wallets, even more than he holds in Tron. Now, that might be because of, price appreciation. So this is all on Arkham. Justin Sun essentially just went long on ETH. It does not pay well to fade Justin Sun. I will just say that. Be careful fading Justin Sun. It might go very, very poorly for you. So pretty interesting news there. Now, talked about Zcash. Zcash, interesting theory, never used for crime. Is that bad? I'll go ahead and say interesting if you want to read this, because Oxmert just kind of had some good takes there. Basically saying Zcash wasn't usable until a year ago. So now maybe basically the criminals will start using it. Pretty interesting. Now to the breaking Ripple news. Ripple raised $500 million, a $40 billion valuation after working with Citadel Securities affiliates. Participation from Pantera Capital, Galaxy Digital, some very, very powerful entities here. And this is, basically valuing their escrow amounts. And so now they have a strategic funding round as of this morning. Also, they just had big news with their RLUSD. This is kind of just also breaking here. They partner with MasterCard and WebBank. WebBank is a fintech bank. They work with a lot of financial technical institutions. And Gemini, this is, I just went straight to their press release here, just go straight to the horse's mouth. This is going to be a collaboration between MasterCard and Gemini and XRP, and they're going to use the RLUSD, Ripple's stablecoin, on the XRPL, Ripple's blockchain. And this is going to enable Ripple's stablecoin to facilitate blockchain-based settlements between MasterCard and the issuer of the Gemini credit card. So big news for Ripple, and we'll look more into this. Basically, this valuation. Laura Shin, I did see this. This is kind of bearish. They raised $500 million from marquee investors, but here's how outside VCs see it. They are not worth anything outside of their XRP holdings. No one uses their tech. No usage on the network blockchain. I'm going to read this a little bit later. I'll read this right after the stream there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw an interesting thesis on this where we're going to be seeing a lot of IPOs next year, or in 2026, 2027 crypto IPOs, some of which have tokens. And so like Ripple valued at $40 billion while XRP has a market cap of like what, $34 billion. You know, so you've got 134 billion XRP token market cap, 40 billion valuation. You got Polymarket with a very large valuation. They're potentially going to be doing a token drop. Coinbase, if Base ends up doing a token like they've said they're making plans to do, you know, so you're going to have this kind of parity between token valuation and company valuation from the IPO. And you know what, a company that has a token that's worth $100 billion, how is the valuation of the company less, and what's their revenue? It's going to get really interesting seeing how these equity firms try to assess that balance of company value versus token value. XRP, Ripple being kind of right there at the center of it. Obviously, XRP and Ripple are not the same, but they're very obviously incredibly linked. So
here's just a low IQ AI take here. Ripple didn't even need the money. They already have 80 billion sitting in escrow. Still, they brought in these Wall Street giants. This is how you could tell it's AI. That's not a blank. That's blank. You always see that. That's not a raise. That's a statement. Clear AI slop, very low IQ take here. Probably not even a human behind this thing. 80 billion sitting in escrow. There is unlocked amount every single month. Happens on the first of the month, if I'm not mistaken. They don't always sell all of it. A lot of times they hypothecate 70% back into the escrow wallet. But this, to me, is a clear signal that they are on the market for people with remittance licenses, maybe some banking charter, maybe just an outright bank in and of itself. So this, to me, is an acquisition move. So they're raising some cash. They don't have to sell XRP to do this. And then they could go buy an existing company with existing legal framework.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Algo, we never talk about it. You guys always want us to talk about it. All right, I'll give you a little algo news. I saw this algo article. I was like, all right, I'll give them something to consider here. Then I saw some charts, and I wanted to chart this myself. When I went to the chart, I already had this this line existing probably from back around here. I was like, what is this line? I think it was here, here, and here. I was like, oh, wait, this fits. What does this connect to? Wait a minute. Oh, there's a larger trend going on here. Larger trend going on with Algorand. Obviously, we need to, turn this into support. Right now, testing the little bit of the bottom of it's a slight triangle. It's almost a parallel range. I think you make an argument for either. But this is a sign, because it's slightly less of an incline than the yellow line. This is technically bullish, and this is showing that, the more it's like this, sellers are running out of steam. They're getting exhausted. When it's more angled, that means like the buyers are running out of steam. This is pretty neutral. It's pretty close to parallel there, but technically bullish. This is technically bullish. You Algorand holders out there, you maniacs.
Don't look bullish to me. I mean,
long term, I guess short term. This is a the bullishness technically doesn't happen until they converge. So just keeping this. Oh my God, they still. Yeah, I mean, technically is bullish when it ends, but the road is a painful road.
Yeah, I've been not a fan of algo literally since the beginning. So
Good point. Yeah, don't look bullish, and you're right. Yeah.
I'm not a TA guy. I'm just saying like that. When I look at that chart, bullish is not what comes into the word.
Hey, it comes to a point eventually. Yeah. Is it in negative? Is it in the upside down world from Stranger Things? Yes, yes. Do you need do you need ESP to pump it at that point? Probably, but I do think we'll get above this yellow line when alt season returns, when bullishness returns, when retail returns.
Yeah, just turn the screen upside down. Good one, Clayton. That's all.
Problem solved. Problem solved. All right. Should we kick it to Druth and Kelly? Do we know what's going on with Trump? Are we still looking at a lectern?
Let's bring them in and see. Let's see. We have a group. There we are. There they all are. How's it going, guys? We have any update on what's going on with Trump?
Yeah, we're watching for it to pump live right now. Of course, Trump is fashionably late, but we are staying on this on the White House government website and on their official Twitter account. So just keeping an eye out for it. He's always doing this. He's always going to be late. So
he learned it from Melania. You know, she's a model. You know, she was always late. She had to be, right?
Absolutely. So we're watching out for this, and you know, I mean, there are some things we can cover. Additionally, some highlights from SmartCon, some very interesting new projects that are actually getting ready to launch today. So pretty excited about what I'm seeing.
Go ahead, keep talking.
No, it's just an interesting time for people if they want to buy more altcoins. If I want to buy more altcoins right now, I did purchase a small position in a very, very new project that's kind of got that consensus backing. Joseph Lubin behind it, and more of an ego play type project that's working with Swift. So I did add that to my position, and I put that into my portfolio within the Discord. And many people are asking, where are your portfolios? Where are all these internal movements that are in our Discord? You guys can find that link in the description.
It's pinned in the top of the comments as well. I pinned it up there.
Absolutely. So it's just an interesting time, right? It's you know, we're looking at over the next few weeks finding out if the 4-year cycles mechanics are truly broken, right? And that is something that it's a potential with all the regulatory clarity and everything like that. 80+% of the chat does believe that the US crypto-centric coins are indeed manipulated right now. So you guys brought up some very, very interesting points about Asian markets pumping, right?
Well, and speaking of end of the market, I did want to mention this. Kelly is going to be hosting this tonight. If you guys are on X, we're going to have Crypto Face on there, On Chain College, Kelly Kellum, Chris Klein doing our regular Thursday reports. These have been very, very good, very, very insightful. A lot of really smart individuals hopping on there, giving their insights. So that is going to be some of the discussion. Is it over? What to expect? So make sure to hop on there tonight. That should be a good one. And then I had something. I can't find it right this minute. If you want to hit some of the stuff from SmartCon, because here it is. Sergey with a really good response of like why he's excited. And every time I hear him talk about Chainlink and what's going on with Chainlink, it gets me exceptionally bullish. Can you guys hear this if I play this?
Why personally?
Okay. So they basically, this is, I don't know how long is this clip? It's a couple minutes, but it's worth listening to, in my opinion. And it's easy. If you need to hop off, feel free to go work.
I might right before. Let me set the stage, or Trump persuasion terms, setting the table. Let's set the table for this Sergey clip. The reason we're talking about SmartCon is very important when it comes to Chainlink's price. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw this in. SmartCon 2021 pump. Basically the only bear market SmartCon. Even that didn't create a dump. It stayed flat. SmartCon 23 pump. SmartCon 24 pump. Right now, we're at SmartCon 25. And if you look, SmartCon and Chainlink go together like PB and J, baby. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to the crew here.
Yeah, I love it. Let's see. Where's the right button? There it is. Now we're all over here. All right, so I'm going to play this real quick, and we can listen to his response. For some reason, it doesn't play on my side, but listen to his response of kind of like, why do you still do
loves
crypto?
Coming in and working on Chainlink day in and day out. It's been a 10-year run now. It's been from the inception of smart contracts. It feels like we're at that point in the industry where it's all becoming. I mean, look around. It's happening. What is it that still gets you out of bed in the morning? What are you so personally excited about with Chainlink right now?
So I think it's an amazing opportunity. Basically, there's not going to be many chances for anyone, and I feel very lucky in this sense, to work on.
Oops. Ah, crap.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I hit the wrong
I know
button.
he had a lot of very interesting clips, and that new project I was hinting about coming out
How
tonight.
cross-chain works,
Here
how
it
the
is,
world
hold on.
works. Not going to be many
My bad.
chances
Sorry, guys.
for anyone, and I feel very lucky in this sense to work on something that can define how the world works. And Chainlink really is a set of standards for how transactions work. So how data works on all the chains, how cross-chain works on all the chains in a reliable way, how identity works on all the chains, how synchronization between chains and existing systems works. And to me, being the person who's involved with another smart group of other smart people, a large group of smart people that can create that type of standard, the way Linux is a standard, or HTTPS is a standard, or TCP/IP is a standard, I don't think that comes along more than once in someone's life, and even if it comes along once, it's extremely good fortune, in my opinion, if you can be involved in building something like that. And so I'm very lucky to be involved in building something that right now is on the trajectory to be something, to be a standard, right? To be a truly global standard. It is already the global standard in DeFi for data and for other key operations. Now the challenge is, as our industry goes from being a niche industry to powering global finance, can we take the Chainlink standard and take it beyond DeFi to be the institutional standard? And then when DeFi and the institutional world merge into one financial system, can that happen over the Chainlink standard?
Now that is incredible. And I want to share something real quick, because that when you think about that, it's not just Chainlink as a singular thing. Can it capture this one thing? It literally will have its tentacles across the broad array of what we're seeing in tokenization. And when you look at something like this, and I'm going to add that to stage. There we go. When we look at something like this and look at this projection, where we're at in 2025 over here, 0.6 trillion, meaning $600 million. And looking at what this would look like going into 2030, 2033, just the shape of this chart, but also the massive impact of what it's going to mean to bring different tokenized assets on chain, tokenize different things from real estate to securities to US treasuries, and Chainlink being a part of that sort of protocol that facilitates all of this happening. That would be magnificent for price. That's why, for me, Chainlink is more of an investment, less of a venture capital play.
Yeah, totally. I came to the same conclusion. Basically, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to hold this for the long term. And the way he talks about them setting the standard, I've also heard him refer to it similar to Swift and Moody's and Goldman Sachs or McKinsey, the way they are kind of the industry standard bearer of what standards need to be. Everybody else will be flowing through their set, more or less. It's like, okay, this to me, I can see why this would be staying in accumulation range. The circulating supply is getting out there completely. I do not see this not blasting off in the long term. It's one of my largest holdings outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So yeah, I made a significant add, to it yesterday and recently. So I'm holding it more and more and more. But my question for the chat was, do you think XRP, here's the all XRP chart, peaking at around $48?
Oh, that's Chainlink.
Chainlink, yeah, is what I say. Did I say
XRP?
Yeah, overall Chainlink chart peaking out May 2021, didn't even make a new all-time high in November of 21. So sitting all-time highs $48. We were at 23, call it 28 in December of this year. Do we think we could see a $45 Chainlink in the next 12 months? Chat, yes or no. Chainlink back to $45 in the next 12 months. And then I want to kind of hear what you guys think.
Well, what's interesting about that is, when you're looking at the shape of the chart as well, there's been some really interesting things that play over the last, couple of years. I mean, this has just been compressing on the logarithmic chart. It's just been compressing into this giant symmetrical triangle as high as 28 here recently, or what was that? December 2024, we got a little bit higher, but really just minding these resistance levels. And I have this box drawn out once this hit. wondering if we were going to come back and test it again. And here we are with the price coming back and testing right near this zone. Really, nothing's out of context yet. And I kind of made mention of it in a comment earlier here in the live chat. I think that we're seeing a bit, especially when you look at like the total, like for instance, here's the total chart, total minus stablecoins. We're seeing this sort of exhaustion kind of play out a little bit in the speculative play in the assets. You know, memes really exhausted, fatigued people with that. And I do think we're starting to see with the corporate and institutional capital coming in, I think we're starting to see the fatigue of just pure speculation. I hope it pumps to utility and seeing what those integrative processes are, and also revenue models, and actually being deployed, and actually the not just adoption of some people that have been in the space, but actually attracting new people into investment in the crypto ecosystem because it's such powerful utility.
Well, speaking of fatigue and capital leaving instead of coming in, I mean, charts looking rough out there. We're about to go, looks like back under potentially 100K for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I mean, XRP getting a lot of these things are having bad downward candles right now. We got super chat here from Patrick Mitchell. Thanks, brother Kelly. Chinese food for lunch. OG veteran San Diego. Shout out to you. But I'll let you guys dig into this. I got some other stuff I got to jump onto, but I love hanging out with you guys. Chat. We're going to stick around to see what Trump is saying here shortly, and maybe that will dump the market further. Maybe that will rally it. But right now, it's looking a little red out there. We've got fear in the 20s, which again, when fear's in the 20s is when I like to buy. When fear's up here in the 70s and 80s is when I like to sell. But it's rough times out there on the timeline. So
absolutely. And that's like, I want to talk about Chainlink and get the price targets here. So we're asking if Chainlink can get just under previous all-time highs, right? And there's a lot of, you have to understand how close to the beginning of a bear market we actually are right now. Like, it's something I was looking at on the historical time frame on Bitcoin's price action so far. This is the 300 SMA, and we have a 1, a 2, and a 3, right? Where we test this.
Oh, they're saying Trump
line
is speaking. I don't know if you guys still have that.
Let's pull it up. Let's see if he
that
is.
might be why we're dumping.
I don't see it
I'm
anywhere.
not seeing it live on the White House website. Let's see here. They said they were going to go live here shortly. Where are you guys seeing it?
You never.
I'm not seeing it right now. Yeah.
Be careful. I will say this. This is a little bit of a scam and phishing warning. A lot of times, whether you're looking for Michael Saylor, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, those three primary people, you can Google, search on Google or on YouTube, and you'll find 30 different things that look like they're talking live. And it could just be a replay of a past speech with it has a whole phishing thing attached.
I mean, they're all over the YouTube timeline for sure. So I'm keeping to official sources here and continually refreshing this. But whoa, here we go. There we go. Now we got it. Let's bring it up. So we're gonna watch and make sure that I'm gonna leave my sound on. So the moment that he does, be able to go
right at 100,000, baby.
Yeah, we are done. And what I was talking about on this chart is basically we've hit this 3 times. We've hit this moving average 3 times. Last bull market, we hit this same moving average 3 times, a 1, a 2, and a 3. And then we fell very, very heavily. We started treating this trend line as resistance, and down into the bear market we go, right? So if we are looking for Chainlink or whatever altcoin it is, or Bitcoin to go and have positive price action, we need to see us break a historical norm for Bitcoin's bull market movement and break back above this zone with pretty strong conviction. Now, like the local timeframes, Crank was on our later afternoon show giving some excellent levels. But really from yesterday's conversation, and Trump came out and said he wants to make, again, Bitcoin, an American-centric superpower. He wants to bring America to the forefront of crypto. And basically, I just highlighted this as local resistance. We literally just about hit our head right on this zone and then have dumped from that moment. So I'm acknowledging this as insanely bullish news that Trump is giving us and terrible price action from it, right? So we have to acknowledge what's going on right now. And so I am watching this because the mechanics of my trading if I see us lose this zone and we do end up targeting that $92,000 CME gap, then my mind shift goes to shorting the market and earning Tether to buy cheaper Bitcoin all along the way. And it's about your mindset and how you take the realization that, yeah, this bear market is close to being verified. Then I'm changing my approach to more shorts than longs in this environment. And now where we are is if you leave the market, you go to sleep and you watch it fall all the way back down to previous all-time highs, then you get a FOMO in back when you see a bull market start up again. We are at a point where it is in historic 4-year cycle terms, it should be the top, right?
Well,
this should be the top.
You know what's funny about this as well, Drew, is there's max frustration in what's going on in the charts, and when we talk about that, I'm gonna swap here just for a moment. This is what that's not what I want to show. This is what we're seeing right now. We've basically been sitting at the same level around a range of $100,000 for almost a year. But then on the flip side of that, you also see other stuff like this, where you see from previous range top to range top, we're literally almost to the day on the exact same level. So there is real fear to be had, However, we're seeing things in the charts like this pump, which is confounding people. Dash, ICP, Zcash, Tezos, Monero, Quant, PayPal. And it's just it's leaving people very frustrated in this market right now, because many of these utility plays that even us here on the channel, Discover Crypto, we talk about the importance of those. And yet it feels like, I don't know if it's the final shakeout or if it's the final frustration or if it's really the sort of the last little pumps of capital before a larger downturn. But it's going to be interesting to see what Trump says today. I know for a fact he's going to be speaking mostly about Eli Lilly, but all of us know if that's the topic, he'll spend about 3 minutes on that and spend another 40 minutes about broadly things in the economy and the government shutdown.
New
and
York.
All eyes are on that.
He's going to rant about New York. I know it. I absolutely know he's going to rant about New York for some time. So we have this up and live, but it's a real mindset adjustment that people have to make. And some of the technicals are showing that on a time frame basis, this should be the top in the 4-year cycle. Now, sentiment wise, you never see a blow off top where people are consistently not excited. There is no hyper greed moment here. And this is a time frame where the sentiment movements of the 4-year cycle would basically be inverse and completely incorrect, but the time frame basis would show to hold true if this is indeed the top. And personally, I'm fine either way. If my Link and Bitcoin bags and all those things just take off to the moon and break all historical norm for Bitcoin's price movement, great. My spots are doing great. I can move back into longs once I see us break 116, 117 with conviction. Right now, the longs do feel a little bit sketchy, and I'm looking for a move. I like the conversation I had with Crypto Crank yesterday, looking for that local move to $106,000, putting in a short with a stop loss just above 107.5. And then, you know what? If it breaks that, my stop loss gets triggered, the trading bag is protected, and then the spot bags get to experience the great upside, and I can move back and just along with my bullish sentiment of it. But yes, we are getting close to breaking that $100,000 moment right now. Once again, we've came down to this 2 times of the wick. And the interesting thing about this, me and Kelly had laid out, was the head and shoulders pattern that has basically played out perfectly, where you have the measurement here of the peak of the head at the shoulder basin. And right now, both of these wicks that we've experienced down to 98K come pretty much right in line with that head and shoulders target, which I found very, very interesting. So that is kind of an interesting moment for me. And if we do break below this, then a $92,000 CME gap still does remain. And Bitcoin has not missed a single one of the CME gaps other than this $92,000 CME gap that does still remain below us since ETFs went live in 2023. So we have to take all this information in and move, don't let emotions take control. I'd see a lot of people letting their emotions drive the truck, drive their vehicle around and navigating this crypto market, I definitely would advise against using emotions. We are at a point where either the whole 4-year cycle theory is going to be mangled and molded to a longer extended cycle because of institutional adoption, or it's a rinse and repeat process, and we can easily use that same replicable historical movement of Bitcoin to get entry points in at Bitcoin at extreme lows. If you didn't know, this blockchain basement show that I come from was actually formed when Bitcoin was at $15,000. There was max pain. People were looking for $3,000 Bitcoin. People were saying it was the bottom. My channel that actually TJ started and I had to take over, which I was super blessed to do. We were formed in the guts of the bear market. We have a different ethos, a different approach to this market than I feel a lot of people do. I see a lot of pain in the chat and a lot of short-term sightedness that honestly will lead to simple FOMO into the top the next time Bitcoin is getting close to its next all-time high later on in the next cycle. So it is what it is. I don't want that same mindset to kind of take hold of people and lose out on the upside. Now, in terms of some of the news, I do want to kind of touch on some things here. We have Nancy Pelosi announcing her retirement from Congress.
Yo, a question for you on that. Nancy Pelosi announces retirement. How much do you think her P&L on her investments drops in the next 3 years?
Probably exponentially. I would say exponentially dropping in profits, but she's made an absolute killing. If you are traveling, be careful. List of airports that'll have flight capacity reduced by nearly 10% as early as tomorrow due to the government shutdown. Anchorage International, ATL, right here in our hometown. Boston Logan International, and a slew of other international airports are having major delays or cancellations due to the government shutdown, lack of employees. So that is something to keep in mind. And some pretty scary data coming out showing extreme labor market weakness. This is adding up just in the background, the jobs being lost, and the government shutdown is not helping. And we also have the Supreme Court ruling that we still don't have the finalization of, but if the Supreme Court rules against Donald J. Trump, the orange one, then it looks like he might have to refund the tariffs. And these are the stocks that could actually benefit from that reversal. Wells Fargo said companies hit hardest by the tariffs could gain the most, including Caterpillar, Nike, Five Below, Best Buy, Gap. Caterpillar notably fell very sharply during the past tariff flare-up, but is now up 57% year to date, helped by AI-related power equipment demand. Goldman Sachs expects a Supreme Court ruling by January, but this is a mixed bag. I've seen some reports calling for this ruling to be finalized in May of 2026, even out to June of 2026 until they have a final decision on this, with refunds potentially taking months to process. So on the other side of the pond, where rates are going for America, one of America's strongest allies here, the Bank of England decided to hold its interest rates at 4%, setting up a more likely December cut for the United Kingdom. And a whole slew of things that I plan to go on through in detail later on today is OpenAI signing an $860 billion deal worth the AI deals this year alone. People are asking where this money is coming from. There's kind of a front end financial bubble that seems Sam Altman's trying to protect himself from Edward Dowd seeing a pattern. Altman and Jensen smell the end of their bubble, financing seemingly drying up, and are going to ask daddy for taxpayer money, citing national security issues. Very, very interesting. It's essentially prearranged bailout setups. A lot of people are questioning what's going on, and I think the S&P 500 very much so relies on continued upside for this AI super cycle that we've seen take hold. NVIDIA has now breached that $5 trillion market cap. Kelly, while we're waiting for Trump to come live, can you pull up the S&P 500 for me? I do want to see how the S&P 500 opened in light of all of the potential tariff refund news. strain on the economy from the government shutdown and kind of a loss of velocity on a big chunk of American economy. It is very notable to think about these things. Bitcoin still basically at that spot we looked at it just a few moments ago, right at about $100,600. But what are we looking at here?
We see opened down. Let's go on the daily. Yeah, open kind of middle of this and just has been dropping through. There's just a lot of questions, right? We've had the shakeup from the tariffs. The market got a little bit used to it. This was a shakeup, tariff shakeup. Market got used to it. We rebounded strongly. In fact, I posted on my X and spoke about it live on the Discover channel as well as the BitLab Academy channel on this date right here, not only in S&P 500, but Bitcoin, about a setup for a massive bounce. On April 7th was the day I posted that. We've seen only up from there. However, this has been rounding for quite some time. Not only has it been rounding, it's been a slightly weakening. I mean, all the way from back here, we've had a bit of bearish divergence on the money flow, bearish divergence on the RSI, and we're also seeing this kind of roll over. And this is kind of the unwinding narrative now of the confusion about, are the Trump tariffs going to remain or not? The questions about what's going on in geopolitics, questions, looking at what's going on in New York. And I don't mean to make this political, but there are serious questions and potential consequences in both directions, both good and bad, about what can happen in what's supposedly has been and is the financial capital of the world. Is there going to be some unwinding of that? We've already seen a massive sort of flood exodus from almost to China, from California into Texas and into Florida, and New York also into Texas and into Florida, and Georgia as well as among those. All these sort of absorbing some of the tech growth as well as business acumen and becoming more strengthened business centers. So there's a lot of unwinding and resetting right now going on. And because of the now shakeup again with the Supreme Court, what is that going to mean? Somebody posted on the side, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, Drew.
Yeah.
Do you think that if the Trump rules against the tariff, if the Supreme Court rules against the tariffs, that would be good or bad, in, let's say, the quarter following that decision? What would that mean for the stock market?
Well, a lot of economic growth and income that, we've been kind of using as a Band-Aid over a bullet wound has been from the tariff income. So if that large amount of money that we've been receiving from other countries is due back, I think that sets up quite a massive pullback for a lot of different industries. And there's some scary graphs that have kind of shown how we have gotten to the point that we're at right now. It looks like it's women. Radicalization of women is impacting America's politics very, very tangibly. Just kind of very clearly shown here. There's been definitely a movement from men trying to breach and drop down into the more conservative zone, but it's not nearly as it doesn't have the violent velocity to the up and to the right that women have towards the liberal agenda. And there's a lot of, this is where emotions and logic kind of collide here in America. It is what it is. Again, I'm not trying to make this insanely political, but there's a very big cultural shift going on in the United States, and that is undeniable. Anyone that wants to argue with me against that is definitely fooling themselves. We are still waiting. Lots of people are piling in. Let's make sure we're not missing anything here. We're fully
and I do want
to
to comment too. Somebody, I made the comment about not making it political, and he said this team is nothing else. Well, let's talk about what's going on right now. We're talking about reshaping the entire global financial structure with a new technology. And leading up into January 20th of this year, the entire political structure and the government and the world banking cartels were staunchly opposed to what was going on in empowering in any way blockchain development, empowering it, integrations. And now what we're seeing is a shift in that. It's really does matter what countries are very aligned behind the empowerment of this and not. And if we stand to set ourselves up like Europe and overregulate the living hell out of everything that's going on, then you stand to be like Europe and be completely behind the ball. And that's not what the US is about. And so whether you like Trump or not, and his Trump tweets, the tariffs, all this, for what he has been moving towards with the crypto ecosystem has been setting up a positive asymmetrical framework for where this ecosystem is going. So you can't help, but also include political discussions in what's going on with crypto and what's going on with Bitcoin and blockchain and all this digital asset infrastructure, because it's entirely wrapped up, and it shouldn't be. It should be bipartisan. I mean, think about the most basic thing. Even if you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you're a Democrat, Bitcoin should be the number one thing you should be supporting because it banks everybody. It's absolutely equal investment opportunity or equal utility opportunity, so long as you have any connection to any form of cell phone or internet. You don't need to be approved to be part of that banking cartel to get your bank card and checking account.
Well,
So there's a lot
matters.
going on here. It's a humanitarian crisis that also meets tech.
This is worth noting on this subject matter. So mayoral-elect Madami announces a Bitcoin Justice Act, imposing mandatory Bitcoin tax on all New Yorkers, right? Too many Bitcoins are hiding in cold wallets, Madami said during a jubilant press conference at Union Square. We're bringing that liquidity back to the people, okay? One confiscation at a time. Bitcoin whales have been swimming freely for too long, Madani declared from a podium draped in a decentralized fairness banner. It's time for that they surface, pay their share. Now, this is a parody, but what the reality is that if you allow essentially proven to be incorrect ways of governing the American people, bad things happen. Let's go to Trump Live.
Tremendous guts.
Terrible audio.
200%, 300%, 500%, 700%, everybody more than that. So today I'm thrilled to announce
Does it sound good on your end, Drew?
two world's largest pharmaceutical manufacturers.
It sounds terrible on our end.
Novo Nordisk.
Let us know in chat. One in chat sounds working good.
GLP-1 weight loss drug. I call it the fat drug.
There we go.
Pull up yours. Let's see if yours works.
Drastic discount.
Why don't you press play on yours? Let's see if the sound's working better on yours.
Someday maybe it'll come out, which will notify you immediately. But so far I haven't heard that, including the drugs known as Zepbound and Wegovy, often called Ozempic. This is a triumph for American patients that will save lives and improve the health of millions and millions of Americans. Amazing thing. They are amazing. I want to thank Eli Lilly CEO David Ricks, a friend of mine. We've worked long and hard. He and I got this whole thing started in a way. And Novo Nordisk CEO Mike Dustar for joining us today. Great, talented people. They make a lot of money. I looked at the money, but they're entitled to the money because the companies are doing very well. Along with Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary Howard Lutnick. Do you take any of this stuff, Howard?
Not yet.
Okay, good.
CMS Administrator Mehmet Oz, he doesn't take it. Food and Drug Administrator, Commissioner Marty McCary, and Director of Medicare, Chris Plum. And we have Steve, where's Steve? Is he here? Head of Public Relations for the White House. He's taking it. The United States is just 4% of the world's population and consumes only 13% of all prescription drugs, yet pharmaceutical companies make 75% of their profits from the American customer. I would say that's not so good, right? It's not exactly great. To address this chronic unfairness, I signed an executive order earlier this year instructing my administration to do everything in our power to implement most favored nations drug pricing, something that has been helped greatly by tariffs, because when nations refuse to do it, we should have put this in the case yesterday. I just say, well, if you're not going to do it, we're going to charge you a like amount of tariffs. And they immediately say, we'll do it, which means that Americans should pay no more than the lowest price offered anywhere in the world. So that you've heard for years the disparity where you'll pay $150 for a pill in New York and you'll pay $10 for a pill in London. Now you're going to pay $20 both because the world is a little bit bigger than the US, so it goes up that way, but you'll pay $20 and $20. A tremendous advantage to our country after years of being abused by the world system. Already Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and EMD, Serrano, have agreed to drastically lower their prices for American patients, and today Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are joining the phenomenal list of the most exciting announcements. I mean, nobody's ever had announcements like, and this has to do with other pharmaceutical products also. But we're covering this today because it's such a big seller, because it's the #1 selling thing there is today. These are two companies that behind the groundbreaking weight loss drugs that have helped millions of Americans struggling with obesity live better, longer lives, everything else. These are the two companies that really broke ground. Until now, neither of these two popular drugs have been covered by Medicare for weight loss, and they've only rarely been covered by Medicaid. They've often cost consumers more than $1,000 per month, and some a lot more than that. Americans have been spending as much as 520% more for Zepbound and 1,400% more for Wegovy than patients in Europe. Think of that. 1,400% more than a patient in Europe for the exact same box. And that ends starting today. The other countries are not happy with us. Now, I don't think they like me too much, Bobby, but that's okay. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are committing to offer Zepbound and Wegovy at most favored nations rates for American patients. This will slash the cost of Wegovy from $1,350 a month to ultimately $250 a month. $1,350 to $250. Did I do a good job? They don't write about it. You know, they like to not write these things. And reduce, you think Biden could have done this? I don't think so. And reduce the monthly cost of Zepbound from $1,080 to $346. In addition, they're both committing that future GLP-1 weight loss drugs taken orally, which are currently under development, will be sold at no more than $149 per month. It's a massive, think of that. You go from $1,300 to $149 a month. We anticipate these new versions will be coming out in a very short period of time. All of these drugs will be available directly to the consumer at TrumpRx.gov. Trump, they want to use my name. Trump, it better be good. TrumpRx.gov. And I think it's turning out to be pretty amazing, right, Oz? Just as significantly, Medicare and Medicaid will finally cover the cost of these weight loss drugs for millions of patients suffering from obesity. Co-pays for Medicare patients will be as low as $50. This is tremendous savings. I mean, now you're talking about from $1,350 to $50. This is tremendous news for the American seniors. And you all remember when I had 1/8 of 1% for the year. I cut it 1/8, and I was so thrilled. But now we're cutting it 1,000%, 1,200%. Nobody's ever said anything like this. Nobody else could have done it, but I say that modestly. In addition, you think it was easy dealing with these people? It wasn't. You think it was easy saying your drug, Mr. Eli Lilly, that we're selling for $1,300 is going to be sold for $250? You know the amazing thing, the stocks all went up. I mean, these guys they're fantastic. Because it's going to equalize the world. The world's a bigger place, and it's going to equalize. I was a little surprised to see that, but I'm happy about it. In addition, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk have agreed to provide all of their other medications to Medicaid at most favored nations prices. Most favored nations, meaning that you will pay the lowest price anywhere in the world. That's what you're going to pay. Whereas before they paid low prices, and we paid, you know, thousands of percentile ahead more. And to sell these drugs to all consumers at deeply discounted prices via TrumpRx.com. When is TrumpRx.com opening?
The site is open. It will launch in terms of giving people prices before the end of the year.
Okay, got to make sure it's successful. It's got my name on it. I don't want to be like so many others.
I don't want to be like the train they're building in California, okay, which has about a 15,000% cost overrun. Or the beautiful Obama building that he's building in Chicago for the museum, which is now shuttered up and dead. They got it up and they couldn't finish. It's about, would you say, 5 years behind schedule? And about 2,000% over budget. Then he tells us how to run Medicaid. Many of the most widely used drugs will be available for 60% off, or even more than that. In addition, all new medications introduced by Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk to the American market will be sold at the heavily reduced most favored nations price. Most favored nations price, that's the best, because they have been thousands of percent lower than what we were selling in many cases. Furthermore, Eli Lilly is investing $27 billion. That's all. And Novo Nordisk will invest $10 billion. That's all. That's peanuts. In the United States to reshore, do a big domestic manufacturing job in the facilities they're going to spend. So Eli Lilly will spend $27 billion. Novo is spending $10 billion in the United States. So they're building new plant and equipment. That's part of what will be 20 or $21 trillion this year. There's never been anything like it. I know nobody talks about it, but there's never been anything like, I would say, you would say, that there's never been anything like this ever, whether it's China or Europe, or you could take all of Europe, there's never been anything like this. So we're already past 17 trillion. We're going to be, I think by the time the year closes out, we'll have investments of over $21 trillion based on the way we're going. And by the way, tariffs are very important. Without tariffs, perhaps it could be a little bit different.
He said
to
it.
put it mildly. Tariffs are so important. The decision in the Supreme Court would be devastating to our country.
We need to do
if we got
bingo
a
cards
negative-
for this in the future.
Devastating if we got a negative decision. But this is a great day for American health and healthcare, and for all of American patients. These are things that are miracles to have this happen. And they're, we're bringing all our medicines, again, because of tariffs, we're bringing all our medicines. If you remember where during COVID, we made almost no medicine here. We had to go to China, we had to go to Ireland, we had to go to other places, UK, to get our medicine. We didn't make it here. Now we're making it, we'll soon be making it all here, again, because of tariffs. And my election, but because of tariffs much more. For years, politicians have talked about making healthcare affordable, but my administration is actually doing it. Americans deserve the best healthcare in the world, and we're now getting the best healthcare at the lowest price. So I'd like to ask somebody who's doing a fantastic job, Secretary Kennedy, to say a few words, followed by Dr. Oz, Dr. Klump, and then Eli Lilly, CEO David Ricks, and Novo Nordisk CEO Mike Dustar. These are incredible stars in that business. Like Dustar is a big star. And I can tell you that David Ricks is one of the hottest people in the world in business, but the business that he's in is pharmaceutical. And the job he's done with Eli Lilly is incredible. Both of these gentlemen, they really are stars in the truest sense. And it's an honor to have you in the White House. And go to it, Bobby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by thanking you, Mr. President, for declaring war on chronic disease in this country. This is something no American president has ever done. If we want to solve the chronic disease crisis, we have to tackle obesity.
The voice of health.
Obesity is the #1 driver of chronic disease. 50% of our adult population are obese or overweight, and it drives about 50% of healthcare costs in this country. Diabetes, cardiac diseases, we are going to see a decline because of this historic agreement. We're going to see a decline in costs, but also, more importantly, in the afflictions themselves. President Trump is the friend of the forgotten American. Obesity is a disease of poverty. overwhelmingly. And these drugs have only been available for people who have wealth. At one point, the majority of prescriptions, the highest concentration of prescriptions in this country was the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And what about the people who live in rural areas, who live in food deserts? What about the people in urban areas who live in food deserts and are suffering from obesity and are locked into that system where they can only get ultra-processed foods, which are aggravating the problem? This will be a lifesaver to them. It's not a panacea. It's not a silver bullet. President Trump has also instructed us to address and end the root causes of chronic disease, and we're doing that. We're about to release dietary guidelines that are going to change the food culture in this country. They're going to change the kind of food the military gets. They're going to change the kind of food that our children get. We're releasing those in December. The Presidential Council for Physical Fitness is going to get more Americans into, particularly our children, into physical activity so that we can attack the root causes of this. But in the meantime, there's nothing more important than we can do than lower this price. As I said, it is the number one cost of all drugs. This is the biggest drug in our country. That's why this is the most important of all the MFN announcements we've made. This is going to have the biggest impact on the American people. All Americans, even those who are not on Medicaid and Medicare, are going to be able to get the same price for their drugs, for their GLP drugs. This happened because of the vision of David Ricks, of Mike Dustar, and the other people, and the people on our team who figured out a way to align the interests of the shareholders of their company with the health of the American public. And it is a momentous accomplishment. It took months and months of negotiations. And I had a wonderful conversation with Mike Dustar about his experience. And he thanked me for the caliber of people who are on our side of the negotiating team. Chris Klump, who walked away from $1 billion business in order to join this administration. Emma Hernandez, David Brooks, and of course, Dr. Oz and Marty McCary, who made this happen. They saw that this could be a win-win situation, that this was not a zero-sum game. The Biden administration tried to solve this problem unsuccessfully, I might add, by throwing $40 billion at it. And they were able to achieve an agreement that will actually create savings for the American public. So we're making all of this available at a savings, and that's because the price of diabetes prescriptions is also going to drop. And the savings that we get from that are now going to make it available to people who do not have diabetes, people who have a BMI of 27 and above, or pre-diabetic, or have heart disease risk. They will be able to get it, but everybody will be able to get this drug, and it's going to change. We will lose, the American public, because of this agreement, will lose 125 million pounds by this time next year. So it is going to have dramatic effects on human health in this country. And I want to thank President Trump for his leadership. He said that I'd gotten a lot done as HHS secretary, but almost none of that is due to my ability. It's because I'm surrounded by people who are smarter than me, who are more able than me, and those people came into the administration because they were inspired by President Trump. People like Chris Klump are here because they see this.
You think they are smarter than you?
Yeah, believe me,
There
they're a
goes
lot
Trump.
smarter than I am.
Listen. He is so unhinged.
He's being modest.
It is true, unfortunately. But I want to thank you, Mr. President, because you've made me a success here by allowing me to attract these extraordinary people. And
I'm telling you, that's Jerome Powell's cousin or brother or
We've
something.
been talking, we've been in this Oval Office again and again. You keep saying he's the smartest guy in industry, that he could talk a dog off a meat truck. But it came to the table. And Mike Newstar told me, he said,
Convinced people for 20 years that it was okay for Europe to pay $10 and for America to pay $140. That's why they make 45, 50 million a year. He did. Finally, I said, I've had it, right? You did. He did. But anybody could do that, but they're entitled. But now it's down to what it should be.
and Mike Newstar told me what a pleasure it was to negotiate with people who were smart, who had common sense, who were able to put themselves in his position and hammer out this deal that is good for everybody. And it's great for the American public. I want to close again by just saying that this is a tool in the toolkit. It is not a silver bullet. It is an arrow in our quiver. It will allow a lot of people who are locked into high-risk obesity to finally lose weight, to reset, and then start doing the kind of things that will address the root causes of obesity.
Boom.
So I want to thank these extraordinary CEOs for sticking with us on this, for allowing us to make this happen. Mike Newstar said to me, he said, we've known we've had to do this for many years. We just haven't been able to get over the edge, and that this President Trump's order, his executive order, was a catalyst to do something that we always knew needed to be done. So again, thank you for your vision, for your commitment, and thank you to all the CEOs and all of my team for making this historic agreement happen.
Bobby, you haven't changed your view on Tylenol for women that are pregnant?
Oh, as I said,
Because there were some false reports out about Tylenol that Bobby changed his view. I don't think he's changing.
I'm not going to change until the science changes, and the science does not look like it's changing. It's getting stronger and stronger. Every day we recommend is that mothers, pregnant mothers, talk to their physicians, that the mothers of small kids talk to their physicians, and we've advised the physicians to reduce the thresholds and to reduce the amount of Tylenol that they give to children as much as possible, and only use it when it's absolutely critical.
So we're going to go through some of the deal points, but it does make itself clear that the real stake here is the forgotten man. President Trump, I believe you won the election because you remember the forgotten man. You speak to them, they hear you, they listen to you, and he connects well because he actually does things that materially change their lives. Secretary Kennedy spoke passionately, as he always does, about the problems with obesity. And just to put some very fine point numbers on this, obesity itself is responsible for half of all chronic disease and definitely generates more than a quarter of all the money we spend out of CMS, the $1.75 trillion that we spend annually. We need to address this tempest of dramatically increasing prices for healthcare, and you're not going to do it just by throwing money at the problem. You have to actually literally deal with the causes of the increase in price, and pharmaceutical prices are a part of that. They've been a part of it for a long time, but this president insisted that we address it. In fact, the first time I heard this directly from you, sir, was in January at Mar-a-Lago, where he took Secretary Kennedy, myself, Mr. Ricks, who you'll hear from in a second, to dinner, and demanded explanations for most favored nation pricing and what's wrong with it. And there was not a good reason against it. Now, MAHA is critical. America will have to get fit in order to right-size the healthcare system, and MAHA has the answers. It has obesity management through diet and exercise and sleep and dealing with issues related to that. And I want to say it as clear as I can. Obesity is not an absence of GLP-1 drugs. We're all clear on that. But as Secretary Kennedy said, it is an arrow in our quiver that we must use and should use. The MAHA movement means making it easier for the right things to happen, easier for you to be healthy. If you're sitting at home and watching, that's what MAHA means to me. Reducing costs of the #1 most expensive medicine category in our country for Americans does just that. It is as MAHA as it gets. Today's the fourth MFN. President Trump highlighted the first three. Leading U.S. company, leading European company. We've dropped in fertility drugs, so we'll make lots of Trump babies, I'm hoping, by the midterms. But it's really about fairness. Fundamentally, it's fairness in pricing to Americans who have been getting ripped off, paying 3 times more than their European counterparts for the exact same product made in the same factory, in the same bottle, in the same packaging. We shouldn't be paying 3 times more, and we are no longer doing that. Fairness to the forgotten man also means dealing with the reality that they can afford a life-saving, life-changing drug that 10% or more of affluent Americans take, but folks without means can't manage it. Secretary Kennedy mentioned New York City. It actually, the number one zip code is the Upper East Side, which is where you have property. And folks who know ritzy areas buy important real estate there because those real estate properties are worth a lot there. That should not be the number one zip code in America for purchasing GLP-1 drugs. It speaks to the fact that we have an inherently, innately unfair system that penalizes folks who can use these medications the most, folks in the Rust Belt. Now, what are you supposed to do if the right thing to do for your health is right there, but you can't afford to get it? Folks need to be able to utilize these life-saving medications, and being fair about its distribution is essential. And we are democratizing access to these medications and dealing with a moral imperative to make sure that all Americans have access to avoiding all the obesity-related complications by making sure they can afford, if they do things right, not just MAHA appropriate interventions, but also medications like this.
Health matters,
In fact,
people.
we think these deals, and this part's very important, we believe these deals within 2 years, by the time the ink dries on these contracts that were signed earlier today, within 2 years, based on our health improvements, we will be budget neutral. These drugs will not cost us money. The American taxpayers will be getting their money back. That's how important it is for us to reduce the costs of healthcare in this country, especially when it's due to preventable problems like obesity. In addition, we have an update, Secretary Kennedy. We thought it was 125 million pounds. Mr. President, our estimate, based on the company numbers as well, is Americans will lose 135 million pounds by the midterms. But I don't measure it in pounds. I measure it in saved lives. People can sleep again because they can breathe as when they go to bed. Folks whose knees don't hurt. People who don't have heart attacks, renal failure, dementia, all the things we know are associated with obesity and much more. This wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the right tools and had the ability with a team that has been spoken of early. So I want to call out Abe Sutton. He's in the back right there. He leads the CMS Innovation Center. It made the deal possible. And they are announcing today a new model, a brand new model aimed at getting to the vulnerable populations amongst us these medications. The forgotten man will be able to afford these drugs now. Governors will be thanking President Trump. They should be calling directly, sir, because they're going to be able to afford Medicaid next year in ways unimaginable, and they will stop crowding out education and other civil services. We cannot be a wealthy nation without being a healthy nation. That's why today's MFN deal is a historic step forward for all of America, and this is something that I don't think is partisan. There is no way you can argue against what just happened. These numbers to my side here, Texas Administrator McCary, who's been instrumental in this process as well. $1,350 baseline. Chris Klump will go through the numbers, but just focus on that 245, which is what he's going to point you to. And Chris Klump has been an unbelievable leader, an innovator. You've heard his name before. He's spoken here before, but he is continuing to change the face of CMS. And I love the fact that with his leadership, we're bringing a lot of wonderful people in. Inma Hernandez has been mentioned, John Brooks as well, and many others, including Beth Kelly, who runs the legal issues around these issues, because these guys are barracudas, Mr. President. They will take you down, slice you in little bits. Howard's been there. It's no longer happening. You've got sharp folks. We're open for business. It's a generational opportunity to serve, and people are showing up. God bless you. Let me introduce now Chris Klump, who is just makes my life easier every day. I'm so proud of him.
Guy looks like Jerome Powell for sure.
All great deals are rooted in principles. We've talked about this before, and today we're announcing another truly great deal. I love this deal, and it's rooted in the principle of potential. This is about unlocking the full potential of every American, the grandmother, the grandfather, the father, the son, by unlocking access to affordable life-saving medications that make a meaningful difference in their lives when they need them most. That's what today delivers. It's a deal built on principle for people, for the American people, and backed by policy that works. So the most important step to getting healthy is believing that your life has value, that God meant for each of us to have purpose and joy and to live fully. And to do that, we must be good stewards of our body. And the president has been fighting to provide another tool to do just this and enable this. And it's my pleasure to get to outline the contours of the deal today. So first and foremost, customary with the three prior announcements, all of the customary most favored nation terms that you've grown familiar with apply to these two deals. So this is actually deals 4 and 5. Full Medicaid portfolios today at most favored nation prices. Shared savings from existing drug prices in Europe deployed back to the United States. All primary care drugs at U.S. net prices or most favored nation prices available on Trump RX before the end of the year. And most importantly, all future drug launches across commercial, Medicaid, Medicare, and the cash markets at most favored nation prices going forward. Now, GLP-1s. So first, under this agreement, starting doses of oral GLP-1s will cost just $149 a month for everyone. That's roughly 1/8 the cost of the list price today. For Medicare, manufacturers are voluntarily reducing their prices for GLP-1s currently used for diabetes and other covered indications to $245 per month across all doses. The savings generated from this change in prices will be used to provide new coverage to obesity and those who struggle with obesity and also have high metabolic or cardiovascular risk. Again, all for the same $245 a month. That means Americans struggling with diabetes and obesity, with heart disease, or other chronic conditions can access these life-changing drugs more affordably. Medicare patients, importantly, will only pay $50 a month for a copay. This is a massive reduction from what happens today. For Medicaid, Novo and Lilly have agreed to extend the same new low government pricing to all 50 state Medicaid programs should they opt in. And we encourage them to opt in. And these will be available not just for diabetes and current covered indications, but also for obesity again. And in case you're getting tired of me saying it, at the same price of $245 a month, all covered doses. On Trump RX, the average price of injectables and orals will start at $350 on average. That's compared to roughly $500 today. And that will trend down to, you guessed it, the same $245 a month over the next 24 months. That is 1/5 of the list price. It is 1/2 of the best price in the United States today. We're hoping, Mr. President, that your friend who has to travel to England to afford these drugs will no longer need to do so and can come and do it in the United States. I'll also just mention that the $149 is $1 less than what you asked us to achieve. Just gonna make sure that's clear. So I want to highlight two other really important points that make me love this deal so very much. First, this isn't about spending more, it's about spending smarter. The savings from the diabetes drug price reductions are being used in a cost-neutral way to fund the new indications for taxpayers. That's amazing, and that happens inside of that same 24-month period. It's cost neutral. We're spending the money more wisely. But second, this isn't just about lower drug prices for Americans, though it does do that, but together with physical activity, with healthy eating and diet, and where appropriate, the use of breakthrough GLP-1s, the real return on investment is healthier Americans, lower chronic disease, lower costs, we estimate by tens of billions of dollars a year, and most importantly, higher productivity. Today is about freeing Americans from the weight, literally and figuratively, that holds us back. It's about unlocking the potential of every citizen to live fully, to contribute fully, and to find joy in their health. We cannot reach our full potential as a nation if we do not reach our full potential as individuals. And we cannot reach our full potential as individuals if we are not healthy. Thanks to Novo and Lilly for showing up so constructively over the last several months to make this possible. In particular, thanks to you, Mr. President, for again demonstrating that you fight for every American, this time for potential. It's now my sincere pleasure to first introduce Dave Ricks from Lilly and then Mike Dustar from Novo.
Great, thank you,
who's
Chris.
this guy?
It's truly an honor to be here today for this historic step forward to expand access to a class of medications that can fundamentally change the arc of chronic disease in our country. Of course, these are the incretin or GLP-1 agonist that we've been speaking about. For nearly 150 years, my company, Eli Lilly, has been investing in America. We've been advancing science and creating high-value jobs. But today, are you okay? Gordon, you okay?
Oh, whoa. Hold on. Whoa. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh, you guys.
Let's take a break. Yeah.
Whoa. Oh my goodness. Someone just passed out. Someone just passed out. That is not good. That was not good. And this is a meeting about health. This is a meeting about health, and someone, oh, down goes Frazier. Who was that fell? It was the, oh, God. Oh, it's a meeting about health. What if? What if RFT MMA is onto something here? That was wild. We've had this happen. We got to clip that. Yeah. Bobby, and also hello, Bobby. Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. What? I don't mean to laugh, but I mean, what the hell? Maybe he didn't get enough jabs. You know, maybe his short got liquidated. I don't know what happened there. Kind of wild. We're waiting for them to come back live here. I'm gonna make sure that was. I think they killed the stream in general. I'm waiting for it to come back. They might have killed the stream in general, folks. Holy cow. Kelly. All right.
Even, you know what it was? Even the White House staff.
Kelly. Turn your mic, or let me turn up a little bit. Your mic was way off. Okay, so someone passed out standing next to Trump. They passed out. They killed the stream while the dog was tinkling there. That was kind of wild. I'm sorry. Go ahead. The microphone is so different on the volume, but go ahead, man.
I don't know what I was going to say.
Oh. Well, we're going to stay posted for this, and I don't think they're coming back live anytime soon. We got to clip that. If you're out there and you saw that, clip that for us and then tag me or Kelly on X, and we will get that circulated ASAP. Absolutely crazy. Bitcoin not doing too bad. Trying to bounce off of that moment. Tapped about 100,250 bucks. Now we're sitting at 101.3, so not too bad. We'll get our show ready for the later in the day. Love and appreciate every single one of you, and I appreciate you for sharing the stream. We have 15,500 people watching this show right now. That was crazy.
Dude, and I know because you and I were talking about it this morning, and there's already been some other stuff since then.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really killer stuff that we're going to be going over today at 2:00. So about an hour and 20 minutes.
Yes.
Come tune in. We got some killer signals. Get in there, get active in the live chat. We got the Discord links down in the description. It's actually pinned in the top of the live chat, I think, still, but we'll be back in about an hour and 20 minutes.
All right, guys. Take care. We'll see.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.